The year is 1692. A chill settles upon Salem, Massachusetts, but this isn't just the New England winter, it's a chill of fear. The rigid, deeply religious Puritan community lives by strict rules. Life is harsh, dissent is dangerous. The devil, they believe, lurks in the shadows. A bleak world where laughter is frowned upon, individuality is suppressed, seen as a threat to their social order. This is Salem, a town on the edge of a vast wilderness where fear and faith are intertwined. In such a world, conformity is paramount. Women are expected to be silent, subservient, and pious. They are to be the dutiful wives of God-fearing men, their lives dedicated to home and hearth. Any deviation from these expectations is met with suspicion, fear, and judgment. Bridget Bishop didn't just defy expectations. A successful businesswoman who owned a tavern, a very uncommon profession for women at the time, Bridget was a colourful character in a world of grey. She enjoyed fine clothes, a spirited joke, and a good laugh. She had a sharp tongue and a quick wit, and she wasn't shy about it. This wasn't the Puritan way. Rumours about Bridget were already swirling before the trials began. She had been married 3 times, widowed twice, which was unusual and frowned upon. Her first husband, Samuel Wasselbay, passed away and left her a widow. She later married her second husband, Thomas Oliver, and after his death she married another man named Edward Bishop. People whispered about her ungodly habits, her love of merriment, and her tendency to challenge authority. These whispers, fueled by fear and resentment, would soon morph into accusations far more sinister. In a society grappling with the unknown, Bridget, with her vibrant personality and independent spirit, became an easy target for their anxieties. She was different, therefore she was dangerous. The Salem witch hunt began with the unsettling behavior of several young girls. They contorted their bodies, screamed, and made strange accusations. The afflicted girls of Salem, who claimed to be tormented by witches, identified Bridget Bishop as one of their tormentors. They testified that her spectre appeared to them and inflicted harm, causing them to have fits and other symptoms. During her examination, the afflicted girls would convulse and display physical reactions they attributed to her witchcraft. These dramatic displays were taken as evidence of her guilt. She was known for her outspoken and assertive nature. She was not afraid to voice her opinions and engage in disputes, which made her a target in a community that valued conformity and subservience, particularly among women. She had faced accusations of witchcraft before. In 1680, she was accused by John Ingersoll of bewitching his child, though she was acquitted. This previous accusation lingered and fueled suspicions during the 1692 trials. Bridget had a reputation for being quarrelsome and frequently found herself in disputes with neighbours. These conflicts contributed to her being viewed as troublesome and possibly malevolent. She owned a tavern, which was of course considered inappropriate by Puritan standards. Taverns were often seen as places of moral decay, and her association with such an establishment cast a shadow over her character. Unlike the modest clothing favoured by the Puritans, Bridget wore bright and elaborate clothing. This choice was viewed as a sign of vanity and nonconformity, traits frowned upon in the strict religious society of Salem. Bridget was known to entertain guests and engage in activities that were seen as unbecoming. Her social conduct, including rumors of immoral behavior, made her stand out and become an object of suspicion. The accusations against Bridget were varied and bizarre. Despite her steadfast denials and the lack of concrete evidence, she was accused of bizarre and impossible atrocities. For example, one neighbor claimed that after a dispute with Bridget, his child fell ill and livestock died, which he attributed to her bewitchment. Another villager allegedly found poppets, or small dolls used in witchcraft rituals, on her property. These were seen as evidence that she practiced dark magic. Even Bridget's own servants testified against her, describing how she engaged in strange activities and had unusual knowledge of events and misfortunes. She was said to have looked upon people, causing them illness and misfortune. The court accepted so-called witch marks found on her body as evidence. These marks, though likely moles or blemishes, were considered proof of a pact with the devil. She was accused of bewitching pigs and sending her spirit to torment young women. One accuser even claimed that Bridget's spectral form had tried to force her to sign the devil's book. These accusations were, of course, ludicrous. Judges and juries often accepted spectral evidence as legitimate. In the suffocating atmosphere of Salem, where fear and superstition reigned, this was enough to seal Bridget's fate. Bridget's trial was a circus of fear and paranoia. The evidence against her was largely based on spectral evidence, the testimony of witnesses who claimed to see the spectre or spirit of an accused person committing witchcraft. This type of evidence was based on the belief that witches could project their spirits, or spectres, to harm others, even if their physical bodies were elsewhere. Given the intense fear of witchcraft and the belief in the devil's power, the mere presence of a spectre was enough to convict someone of witchcraft. During the trials, some prominent figures, such as Increase Mather and Samuel Willard, expressed doubts about the validity of spectral evidence. They argued that the devil could take the form of an innocent person to deceive and sow discord. Her past, her independence, and her defiance of societal norms were used against her. One by one, the accusers took the stand, their dramatic testimonies further fueling the fire of hysteria. They writhed, screamed, and claimed that Bridget's spirit was tormenting them right there in the courtroom. Bridget, for her part, remained defiant, proclaiming her innocence, but her rationality fell on deaf ears. The court, blinded by fear and prejudice, was in no mood for reason or logic. Bridget, they believed, was a witch, and her unconventional life was proof enough. She had defied their norms, and now they would have their revenge. Bridget was executed by hanging on June 10, 1962, at Proctor's Ledge, a rocky outcrop situated near the base of Gallows Hill on the outskirts of the village. The exact site of the executions was long debated, but recent research and historical evidence have confirmed Proctor's Ledge as the precise location. The name likely comes from the Proctor family, who owned land in the vicinity. John Proctor, one of the accused during the trials, was also executed there, adding a personal dimension to the name. The executions were public events intended to serve as a deterrent to others. The prominence of Proctor's Ledge made it a suitable location where a significant portion of the community could witness the hangings. By conducting the executions in a visible place, the authorities aimed to reinforce the perceived moral and religious lessons about the dangers of witchcraft and the consequences of defying Puritan norms. Bridget was the first person to be executed during the Salem Witch Trials, marking the beginning of a tragic period of injustice for women. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, Bridget was executed for crimes that existed only in the minds of her accusers. It marked a dark chapter in American history, a stark reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria, unfounded accusations, and the persecution of the different. The Salem Witch Trials would continue for months, claiming the lives of 19 innocent people, whose stories we will cover in later episodes of this series. However, for Bridget Bishop, the unconventional independent woman who dared to defy the norms of her time, she would forever be remembered as the first victim of this dark chapter. Bridget Bishop, a woman ahead of her time, was condemned for her individuality, her spirit, and her refusal to conform. In the words of the Reverend John Hale, who later came to regret his role in the trials, "It is better that 10 suspected witches should escape than that one innocent person should be condemned." Thank you for watching, and keep an eye out for the other chapters in this series. I'll be uploading them weekly from here on out, so stay tuned. Please feel free to subscribe if you'd like. I'd really appreciate it. Until then, stay safe and thanks for stopping by.